All right, so aside from meme tokens, which are exclusively for fun, 99% of cryptocurrencies out there are entirely scams. They have some great marketing budgets and they offer their token as some solution to a problem. And perhaps it could be true, perhaps they have a great solution, but the reality is that they probably don't. And there's always a fear of the token price going to zero. In other words, can you get rugged? So if you aren't familiar, rugs or rug pools are a way for projects to extract value from token holders. They either sell tokens directly to the holders, reducing the value of the token, and they may do this because they want to get rich quickly, or they do this out of survival. They may need to do it just to sell enough tokens to keep the project going. Sometimes these teams don't survive, and token holders still stick around and try to find out how they're going to go to zero. Now, there are only three ways that rug pools can happen. I want to go through the three ways with you and let you know exactly how these guys can acquire tokens to perform rug pools. So the three ways that the team can acquire tokens to perform a rug pull. Firstly, the team controls most of the liquid tokens. The second is the team has a significant amount of tokens locked in the vault. Lastly, the team uses inflation to perform a slow rug pull. No matter which method that the team uses to acquire the initial tokens to perform the rug pull, they're basically draining the value from the market for their own personal gain. Now, if you look at the tokenomics for a particular project, you're going to find that they allocate certain amount of tokens to certain functions. Some of these functions may be marketing, staking, liquidity rewards, liquidity provision, and teams often tell you that this is exactly why we've created the tokens and why we have control over a certain amount. But the reality is that we have no guarantee that the team is going to use the tokens in the way they allocated them. You really have to vet the team and hope that they are honest with the way that they're going to use these tokens. And of course, the project can still fail, which means that investing in cryptocurrencies is always a risky idea. The second way that the team can acquire tokens to rug pull is through Vault Unlock. In a Vault Unlock, the team tries to lock up tokens to make it appear as they cannot rug you. Vaults make the appearance that they're committed to working on the project and they can't rug pull you. But the reality is that once the vault time expires, the tokens become liquid again and they can do anything they want. There is no real difference. Now, even if they have a vaulted schedule, it doesn't mean that they won't rug pull you with the project tokens that they already own. Again, if the project doesn't succeed, the tokens go to zero anyway. Okay, the last way that a team can acquire tokens to perform a rug pull is the most obvious, most powerful one because it's the easiest to understand. It's inflation. Inflation is often used to reward miners or validators for producing blocks. And so if you want a piece of inflation, you simply have to produce blocks and become a miner. Inflation is also hard coded into the blockchain, so you know exactly how much your bags are being deflated by. Now, I know some people would say that, hey, inflation isn't a type of rug. And yes, you're right. But at the end of the day, if the project doesn't succeed, then inflation will eat away at your holding value. And it's going to do the same thing as almost every other cryptocurrency, which is send your bags to zero. So before we answer the question of whether or not Koinos can rug you, we're going to take a look at Solana. Everyone knows Solana. It's been around since the last cycle, and you can easily search the documentation for inflation. And if you take a look at the proposed inflation schedule, which is posted on their own website, you'll see that the inflation rate begins at 8% and it cuts 15% each year, eventually leading to 1.5%. Now, going down here, they give you an inflation schedule and they'll tell you exactly what the rate is over how many years. And it isn't until approximately year 10 where it reaches close to 1.5%. Total supply here again, they go from just under 500 million and over 15 years, they're going to reach just slightly over 750 million tokens. So it's very obvious to tell you plainly what's happening. And the question is whether or not this inflation actually impacts the total value of the token. Now, if you search for Solana vesting schedule, you're going to find a table very similar to this one. It's the allocation of tokens. Here we see that they've locked a certain amount of tokens for community, seed, team, founding rounds, inflation, foundation, and so forth. If you continue to scroll down, you're going to find that many of these tokens were locked around 2020, which is when Solana came out, and they begin divesting around the middle of Q1 for 2021. So about a year later, these tokens were unlocked. And you can tell here that if Solana did not reach success through the marketing campaign that they put out, and if it wasn't made popular by its users, then all these tokens would have dumped directly on the market, and Solana Foundation would have to sell these tokens in order to survive. What we know now is that Solana completed a successful marketing campaign. It was adopted by a lot of the users in the cryptocurrency space already. They're launching tokens and NFTs, but the reality is that Solana still uses gas fees, and those gas fees are preventing new people from entering the market. It's very difficult for people to get involved in blockchain if they have to have the token to pay for gas fees in the first place. So let's go back to answering the question, can Koinos rug you? You guys know that I'm a project developer on Koinos, and it's been my passion for the last 4 years because I believe in what blockchain can do for the normal person. And I believe that everyone should have the freedom to access the era of digital ownership. Koinos is ultimately about the freedom to transact. It's the ability to use the blockchain under your own terms without ever having to pay a gas fee ever again. Your tokens belong to you and you don't need to pay the network in order to use them or transact with them. Now, that's a really big difference from Solana and any other blockchain out there. Okay, but can Koinos rug you? This is where I'm presenting information to you as I know it, but you really have to be the judge yourself because ultimately any project can unintentionally rug you. They can present an idea that's great, but if there is no adoption, if they can't get it to succeed, then they will eventually sell tokens in order to survive and they will unintentionally rug you. This is why understanding inflation is so important. Now, going through the same exercise as we did with Solana, you will find out that there are no vaults holding coin. The entire supply of coin has been distributed through the proof of work mining, just like Bitcoin, which allowed anyone to mine and then sell those tokens after mining it. What's important to know during the proof of work mining was that the Koinos blockchain software did not exist. Many miners were mining something that was essentially or really worthless. It was so worthless that miners would dump large amounts of coin directly into the open market on Uniswap, which allowed many people to pick up the tokens at a very low price, typically between 1 cent and 20 cents. Coin represented a vision, but the product did not exist, and there was no guarantee that Koinos would succeed in becoming a blockchain on mainnet, much less be successful. The only thing that the Koinos development team could offer to people was the fact that they were fully doxxed, which means that you know exactly who they were. They are a team of American engineers and entrepreneurs that are developing this blockchain, but they also had prior work experience. They are the guys who developed the Steam blockchain, and so there is a previous body of work that they can rely on. Mainnet was eventually launched, and we are here today. But how many tokens does the team actually possess? Unfortunately, this is a question that the community has been asking, but we have had no definitive answer. Their reasoning is that they participated in proof of work mining and they acquired tokens just like anyone else. So they are merely a participant in this game. People have tried to estimate how many tokens that the team currently holds through activity on chain that they suspect belongs to the core group, and also obviously because they're running one of the largest mining nodes out there. Now, the number that people expect them to hold is about 10 million coin, which represents 10% of the total supply. So that roughly leaves around 90% of tokens in the circulation of the open public. But what about inflation? As I said before, inflation is typically used to reward miners for producing blocks, but it's also hard-coded into the system. For Koinos, this number is 2%. So no matter whether there's 1 million coin or 100 million coin, you're going to get inflation at 2% of that supply. And you can always participate in receiving some of that inflation by mining on the Koinos blockchain. So can Koinos rug you? The answer is still yes. The fact that any cryptocurrency investment is risky and projects can always fail to deliver on their promise. Markets may not be ready for it, so every cryptocurrency project out there can unintentionally rug you. But there is no secret stash of tokens that can be dumped on you, they be unlocked suddenly, and be sold on the open market. The total amount of tokens out there in circulating supply is the total amount, and that numbers at around 100 million tokens. You might see arguments out there about unclaimed and claimed tokens. Now, what you have to understand is that the unclaimed tokens can be claimed in just one simple click and become part of the liquid supply. And therefore, I consider all these unclaimed tokens to be just as liquid as the tokens in existence. That means that the total amount of tokens out there is 100 million. The only difference between unclaimed and claimed is that the unclaimed tokens aren't used to measure inflation. That means that you're not applying inflation towards the total supply, just what's in existing. It's really that simple, and for all intents and purposes, unclaimed tokens are just as liquid as claimed tokens. They're just not being used to calculate the total inflation amount. Really, only you can decide whether or not coin is a good investment for you. So you have all this information, and it's up to you to decide whether or not coin is a good investment for you. I already talked about how coin can be used to reach millions of people because you don't have to hold a token in order to use it in my video called No Tokens, No Problems. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.